Hello, hello, ladies and gentle hands. Welcome to Clown Questions, the podcast where I attempt to answer the questions that everybody's wondering. I'm your host, Matt Clown Emoji, and yes, that is my legal government name, believe it or not. So let's get into the show. And of course, I'll have to start it off with a question, which this past weekend, the NFL Network's own Chris Rose was asking this question: is it possible for the Chiefs to ride the D? I'll attempt to answer this question and many more on today's episode of Clown Questions. But me personally, I just got one question for y'all. Who's down to clown?
That's a clown question, bro.
So, welcome back to the show. Well, welcome to the first inaugural show. First of all, shout out Bryce Harper for the name of the show. Without him, I wouldn't know what to call it. So, shout out. And also shout out to that reporter for asking a dumbass question so I can do this. Also, for that Fire theme song, shout out Xanos on YouTube. That's Xanos. So let's talk about it. Is it possible that they can ride the D? We're talking about the Chiefs, of course, here. And when Chris Rose said this, Maurice Jones-Drew, his co-host, he immediately and appropriately gave him the side eye. Rose just kind of sat there playing dumb, like, oh, and then he corrected himself. But he asked the question, can you ride the D? Now, the man better known as MJD, he was an RB, so he was never really one who tried to ride the D, but at the same time, they do say that D wins C's. And while C's get degrees, I'm living proof of that. In KC, it was only 4 degrees. So, maybe Chris Rose is right. And the only way the C's underperforming O can win right now is to ride D's, if you know what I'm saying. But that's not for me to decide. This podcast is called Clown Questions, not Clown Answers, after all. And this next question is one I've been dreading. And that question being, is Joe Flacco elite? Well, that's tough to answer, and I think the answer is no. You can't see, but off camera there's a guy pointing an AK-47 at my temple, and I have to say, Joe Flacco is not elite. Obviously, he threw those horrendous interceptions against the Texans. And C.J. Stroud shined, kicked their ass. So, no, he's not elite. Obviously, he'll always be elite. He's a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champ, one of the greatest runs of all time. But unfortunately for us fans, he ain't elite. So, moving on to a better note, and congrats to C.J. Stroud and the Texans. Again, they're bound to good luck against the Ravens. But speaking of another team that's going to be heavy underdogs this weekend, the Packers. The question with the Packers is, have the Packers hacked the NFL? As a Packers fan personally, you can see the G up there. I'm obviously biased with this question, but my answer to the question, have the Packers hacked the NFL, is kind of. Yes, this is a second trial run, and yeah, we're only one season into this. But if you look at Favre's first season, Rodgers' first season, Love has above and, far and away been much, much more successful in his debut season. Obviously, last week he shellacked the Cowboys and maybe, caused turmoil to the future of their quarterback position, but that's neither here nor there. The Packers hacked the NFL. They traded for the Falcons for Brett Favre in 1994 for whatever year that I wasn't born yet. And obviously he had a Hall of Fame career, won a Super Bowl. And then Rodgers, you got him backing up for 3 years. I don't know why I'm doing the whole thing over again, but it seems that every iteration of these Packers quarterbacks goes down the line, they get better. And yes, is it crazy to say Jordan Love's better than Brett Favre, better than Aaron Rodgers? It is, but at the same time, we didn't see this type of success in their first 2 seasons. So obviously, as Packers fans are over the moon. So I'm not going to talk your ear off too much about Jordan Love, but Packers low-key hacked the NFL. Let's move on to the game after that. And the question everyone's pretty much asking is, were Lions fans booing Kelly Stafford's kids? No, they were not. They were booing you, Kelly. Kelly went on her podcast and corrected herself. She immediately got mad and, claimed that people were booing her daughters. But she recently got on her podcast, which I'm not going to plug because I might boo you at the end of this, Kelly. But her quote was, "My girls are not getting booed. I am." Let me take it a step further. Maybe they weren't booing you, Kelly. They were booing your last name. No offense, but biggest game and Lions for the Lions in decades. Of course, they're gonna boo their former quarterback who stands in the way of moving on to the next round of the playoffs. So, personally, no, your kids are not getting booed. But Kelly Stafford, if for some reason you see this podcast that only has 2 viewers, I just want to tell you one thing: boo. All right. Next question. This one is going to be very controversial, and that question is the NFL a snowflake? So, of course, the Buffalo Bills had their game delayed until Monday because of the severe weather. Personally, I'm just salty because I wanted to see a snow game, okay? And who doesn't love a snow game? And you might be sitting there thinking, man, we just had a snow game. Jets-Patriots. Jets-Patriots. No one wants to see that shit. I mean, not that many people want to watch the Steelers play either, but come on. A snow game in Buffalo is one of the most entertaining things you can watch on TV, and I'm just salty that didn't happen. I know the travel is dangerous. People might have gotten hurt, and now that I say that, I'm going to have to walk back my own take because I DoorDashed while there was a foot of snow on the Wisconsin ground, and I may or may not have crashed 4 or 5 times. Luckily, I was okay, and the vehicle was not damaged because 4 of those times I, slid right into a snowbank, and the other time I hit a tiny little branch. So they weren't, maybe crash is the wrong way to put that, but at the same time, give us some fucking snow games, NFL. I mean, they can't control the weather, but my ex-roommate would probably say they do. So just give us a snow game, okay? Maybe put in some nuclear snow at San Fran and give the Packers an edge this weekend. But moving on, again, the last game on Monday night, of course, Buccaneers and Eagles. I can't get enough of all the brain stew Baker Mayfield edits. Those just, I don't know, they just hype me up. But at the same time, the question everyone's asking after that shellacking, I already used that term, after that shit pumping, Buccaneers kicked their ass, obviously. The question remains, though, about the Eagles is, has there been a more historic collapse in history? I'm not so sure. I mean, I can name off a few examples that are close to it, and all that could come to my brain immediately was the Rays this year. But they started off 14-0, and then, they got smacked in the wild card game. But that's not really a collapse. That's just a historic start, and the beginning of the season doesn't necessarily hold too many cards to what the future of the MLB playoffs are going to end up like. So Rays is probably not a great example. I did end up asking ChatGPT what they thought some of the biggest collapses were. They gave me two decent answers in the Pats, the New England Patriots, who went undefeated before losing to Eli Manning and the Giants in the Super Bowl. It was their only loss all year. They also brought up the 15-1 Packers losing first round and the 15-1 Panthers losing in the Super Bowl. But in terms of a single season to where you start off as one of the best teams in the league far and away, and by the end of the season, you're one of the worst teams in the league. Not exaggerating, this team did lose to the Arizona Cardinals. No offense to to my aunts who are Cardinals fans, but that's neither here nor there. So, no, I don't think there's been a worse collapse than the Eagles. Nick Sirianni, I saw a report that he's not on the hot seat, but he's on Philly's hot seat, whether he likes it or not. All right, moving on to a big trade that happened in the NBA. Question is, though, did the Pacers give up too much for Spicy P? Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Pascal Siakam fan. I like him a lot. And, I should mention I'm not a Bucks fan, so this is going to hopefully piss off a few of my friends. Maybe Pascal Siakam is the Giannis stopper. There's been some contentious game between the Pacers and the Bucks this year, and it kind of seems like Siakam could be that last piece, pair him with Halliburton, and boom, off they go. But in my opinion, Pacers gave up way too much for Spicy P. The main, assets being 3 different first-round picks, which to me is a lot. You're mortgaging your future. You're doing the reverse Oklahoma City Thunder. So to me, it's risky. Bruce Brown and Jordan Norwell, good players, but Spicy P has a different type of talent that those guys can't really compare to. Bruce Brown was fire in the NBA Finals this past season, but Spicy P could be that piece, the big 3 of Miles Turner, Hallie, and of course the guy I'm talking about, Spicy Pascal Siakam. But Pacers, you gave up a little too much. You did get a great player though, so I mean, who knows? But getting past all of those clown questions, let's get into our first segment of the day, and we will be right back after this. How's it going? Our first segment today is everybody's favorite game show. Coming to you live from my mom's basement, it's In Jeopardy, because that's what this segment is, pending a copyright infringement lawsuit. I'm your host, Alec Trebuchet, although I probably look a little bit like a white Drewski the way this jacket is not fitting. But, that's fitting for a podcast of this low production value where you got a board and the editors, whoever the fuck the editor is too lazy to actually make a decent looking graphic. But let's move on with the show. Today we are joined by Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers and nobody else, because again, whoever edits the show is lazy and he didn't want to have to do 3 different guys and have to splice them all together. But again, welcome to the show, Aaron. How are you doing today, man? Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Alec. Let me just say what you're doing here is completely blasphemous, and I can't believe you're here besmirching the great Alex Trebek's name like this. Sounds like someone's a little salty that they didn't get the host gig. Is that why you're playing for the Jets? Let's just start the game, okay? And another thing, why are you wearing a Jordan Love jersey? I'm just a really big fan, honestly. Aren't we all? Okay, let's get started. You're aiming for a score of 1,000, and then you move on to the next round. Otherwise, your former teammate, Marshawn Lynch, is waiting in the wings here. All right, 1,000, that seems pretty low. Well, don't fuck up then. Okay, yeah, here we go. All right, Aaron, you've got the only one here, or you're the only one here. Is it obvious I'm reading a script? So obviously you pick the categories, but remember, every answer must be in the form of a question, as after all, this is in Jeopardy. Here are the categories. We have Kanye or Carl. You have to decide if a quote was Kanye West or if the quote was from the father of communism, Karl Marx. We have new trivia, who dis, and we have who'd he play for, a play on the classic game that Charles Barkley loves so much. All right. The board is yours, Aaron. Let's go. Who'd he play for 100? Ryan Fitzpatrick, December 2020. Who are the Miami Dolphins? Correct. Who'd he play for 200? Brandon Cooks, October 2019. Who are the Rams? Yes, and they resided in Los Angeles at the time. 300. James Harden, September 2012. Who are the Houston Rockets? Oh, not quite. Oklahoma City Thunder. Harden wasn't traded to Houston until late October that year. New trivia, who dis for 100. Saturday, C.J. Stroud became the fourth rookie to pass for 3 touchdowns in a game. Can you name the other, not all of them, but one of the other 3 rookies who threw for 3 tutties in a game? Who is Dak Prescott? Yep. Here we go. Trivia 200. Jordan Love put up 42 points in his playoff debut. Last debut quarterback to put up 42 plus in a game. That's me, motherfucker. I'm going to need an official answer. Who is Aaron Rodgers? Yes, but it's still incorrect because there's no second chances on In Jeopardy. Everybody knows that. New trivia, who dis? 300. Oh, bang, congrats. Daily Doble, which of course is Spanish for daily double. Points double here. Alrighty. The Detroit Lions won their first playoff game in 32 years this past weekend, and only one Lion currently on the roster was alive for that most recent win, that 1992 win. Who is Jake McQuaid? Wow, what a fucking pull. How the hell did you know that nobody long snapper? First of all, respect Jake McQuaid. Second of all, I've been good friends with him ever since we tried MDMA after I played him in the 2002 high school playoff semifinals. Is that true? Who the fuck is going to fact check that? How would you fact check that? Fair enough. Well, folks, A-Rod is moving on to the next round with 1,000 points in his debut. Yeah, that concludes this week's In Jeopardy. We'll see you next week, Aaron. Aren't we going to finish off with the Kanye or Karl Marx category? Nope, we are not. Y'all not ready for that one. Peace out, Mr. Kimmel. Let's send it back to that clown-ass fool. Ew. Sorry about that. If that sounded gross on the audio, it might not be ASMR. But yeah, that was weird. But it's good to be back, baby. And now it's time for the next segment presented by no one because I don't have a sponsor yet. And that's Pass or Play. All right, so pass or play. I mention a topic and I either pass entirely and don't talk about it at all, or I play. All right. Nick Sirianni on the hot seat, pass or play. That plays. Yeah, he's on the fucking hot seat. And guess what? He was in the Super Bowl last year. But the inspirational Rocky quotes don't seem to be cutting it nowadays. Jason Kelsey's retired. I'm not saying the whole line's going to shit, but the tush push might be going to shit. Kelsey's the best in the business, Hall of Famer. Without him, is Jalen Hurts going to still have 12, 14 touchdowns? I don't know how many he had. I'm not even going to Google it because who cares? We know the tush push is unstoppable, but I'm saying with Kelsey out, I'm sidetracked. But Eagles fans want Sirianni fired. I don't blame him. He seems cheesy. After that Chiefs game, he said, what the fuck did he say? He told us to be prepared. Now I'm going off on a Jameis tangent. But he just does cheesy shit, and he said, I don't hear shit, Chiefs fans. Oh, I hope you didn't hear that. Goose is tweeting at the... Shout out Young Goosey on Spotify. But anyways, fire Nick Sirianni? I don't like calling for man's jobs unless he's Joe Barry, then, that's another thing. But, yeah, Nick Sirianni, hot seat, that plays. All right, next topic. Hank dented Tiffany Gomez's wall, pass or play. So for those of you who don't know, Hank Lockwood's producer of Pardon My Take, huge Cowboys fan, lost a bet, had to jump in a freezing pool at Tiffany Gomez's house. Some of you may know Tiffany Gomez from her airplane fame. But, he jumped in the pool, smartly ran inside to the hardwood doors and left a huge dent in the thing. But yeah, pass or play on that. I'm going to pass. I'm not going to talk about that incident. I'm definitely not going to put a clip of it, included in the podcast or on any social clips, because I'm sure Hank would love that. Yes, the guy with 5 views on this podcast is completely embarrassing you by bringing up that clip. So I'm going to pass on it. I'm not going to mention it. And I'm going to move on to the next topic seamlessly without spending any time on your topic. Hank, I got you. You're my boy. I'm passing on that. I'm not going to make any commentary and be like, whoa, I'm not doing that. All right, so, next topic. Shout out PMT, the best podcast. Well, second best podcast now in the world. So let's go to number 3 on my cheat sheet here. It's just a quote from a reporter. Mike, you have a year left on your contract. That plays. And Mike, of course, is Mike Tomlin, the outstanding coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That plays. Yeah, Mike, you got a year left on your contract. Today he came out and talked a little more. He said, I'm in a little better spirits today. I don't know. I invoked a Southern accent. Mike Tomlin doesn't sound like that. I don't have a Mike Tomlin impression. But, yeah, that plays. At the time, Mike passed on that question, but I'm going to say that plays. You do have a year left on your deal, Mike. If you're Steelers, I would extend him. Mike Vrabel could be good in there as first reported on Pardon My Take. But, yeah, Mike passed on that question. I'm saying it played. We didn't even hear the second half of the question. We just said, Mike, you have a year left on his contract. He said, I'm passing on this question. I'm getting the F out of here. And I'm walking out. Next topic, the Warriors dynasty is over. I'm going to pass on that. Like I said, I'm not a Bucks fan. I'm a Lakers fan. You can probably guess why I'm a Lakers fan. But I'm going to pass on that. Whoever wrote this prep sheet and said the Warriors dynasty is over, I don't know if they're right or wrong. It's not my place to say they're one of the greatest franchises ever. So I'm going to pass. I'm not going to talk about it. All right, last topic. The Pistons should draft Caitlin Clark. That plays, okay? Some people have been saying it's one of the weakest draft classes in a while. I think that might be because of the Victor Wembanyama effect, of course. But at the same time, I don't see why people are saying it's a weak draft class. Caitlin Clark is one of the best guards we've ever seen. Did you see that buzzer beater from Curryland? Caitlin Clark would be a great compliment. There's only one player on the Pistons better than Caitlin Clark, and that's got to be Cade Cunningham. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Cade Cunningham he's carrying the Pistons on his back to however many wins they have, like 4. I don't know. Again, I'm not looking it up because who cares? I keep saying who cares on a podcast. It's called Clown Questions, guys. Like, if you came here looking for sound advice, sound analysis, I have some serious questions about your mental well-being. But yeah, Pistons drafting Caitlin Clark plays. All right, let's move on to everybody's favorite time of the week, where I reveal the Goosebump Moments of the Week. Now, what I hope to be thriving company one day, Goosebump Sports, is obviously based on the moments in sports that give you goosebumps, that make the hairs on your forearm stand up. Just those unforgettable plays that, whether you're there watching it on TV or listening to it on the radio, you're never going to forget it. So, yeah, it's tough picking a Goosebump moment of the week. I have a top 3 and I have some honorable mentions. They're my personal opinion. Hopefully one day I can get to a system where you guys vote. If I miss anything, please comment. Let me know. Tweet me angrily. Hit me up on LinkedIn and slander me. I don't know what the Goosebump moments are of the week. I'm doing the best I can. So I'm gonna whip out my phone and just let you know what we got. All right, honorable mention has got to be DeJounte Murray for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, so he's going up. Bang, at the buzzer. Dang. That's a pretty cool moment. I mean, I love it. Any buzzer beater, any Taco Bell buzzer beater, why am I plugging Taco Bell? It's just exciting. And it's cool to see DeJounte Murray. I think he's on a new team again. Should have done more research. But let's move on to the next moment. We got Anthony Simons. Bloater. Bang. I mean, that's smooth. That's an honorable mention. That's not in top 3, which is surprising. But, I mean, Anthony Simons, I don't know many Blazers players, but Anthony Simons is definitely a name you should know. I mean, that's just, he's smooth. I don't know how else to describe his game, because I'm not very well versed in basketball. More of a football guy myself, because I wear a baseball jersey. But Anthony Simons, top of the key, floated in 0.2 seconds, game. All right, let's go to number 3 moment of the week. Obviously, Lions, first playoff win, 32 years. Let's listen to Mike Tirico, because he's got some shit to say.
It's a team that believes in themselves, and they didn't have a great second half, but this will be one of the most memorable nights in Detroit football for that 89-year-old.
And Mike didn't say his name, but the 89-year-old he mentioned was Benjamin Capp, who's been a season ticket holder for 66 years as a Detroit Lions fan. It's got to be incredible, and the emotion I can't imagine he's going through after staying loyal. That's a loyal-ass fan. 66 years of mostly disappointment. You got that one in 92, now you got one in 23, but Benjamin Capp's got to be glad. And also shout out that Lions fan who dyed their hair blue for Amon, and wishing him a speedy recovery and good health. But yeah, man, I mean, what better way to get your first playoff win in 32 years to beat your former QB Matt Stafford, who was standing in the way and having his daughter's booed on the field. Shut up, Kelly Stafford. I know what you're thinking. And boo is all I can say to you. Sorry, that got negative. The Goosebump moment of the week is supposed to be a positive thing. So, yeah, next moment, we got Kennesaw State buzzer beater. Well, I kind of spoiled it, but Terrell Burden, check it out. Pandemonium, as the announcer says. That's cold. He got the steal. Took it coast to coast. Step back. Damn, Terrell Burden. The senior for Kennesaw State. Number 1, again, not a Bucs fan, so this is not biased. I just thought this one was cold as hell. Dame time. Take a listen to maybe Dorsberg. Look at this.
Give it up, get it back.
And let them know what time it is. It's Dame time. It's still go Lakers, but it was Dame time that night in OT against the kids. Ain't no lighting up beams, just lighting up joints after seeing that Dame time. Insane time. All right, real rapid fire. I'll do a quick preview of the weekend because I talked about the prior games, but I should probably talk about this weekend's game, so let's get into it. 49ers, they're going to kick the brakes off the Packers. They're riding on a high, but, I mean, let's face it, it's the Cowboys. I mean, how many Skip Bayless and Stephen A. videos do you need to see related to the Cowboys until you realize they ain't it? Packers, great season. Love Jordan Love, love everything, but Niners -9. They're not going to cover. Niners money line won't make you much money, but that would be my pick. Packers to cover. Packers will keep the game within 9 points, but they're not going to beat the 49ers. And Christian McCaffrey might have a Raheem Mostert type flashback NFC 2019 championship game. Great wording, great English by me there. All right, next game, Bucks Lions. Lions are 6.5-point favorites, and they cover it easy, kicking the brakes off it. Don't get me wrong, Baker Mayfield's great story, potential comeback player of the year. I love the brain stew edits. I'm having trouble, but fuck it. Lions by 6.5. They cover. I like them easy. Next pick, I got the Bills over the Chiefs. Bills, they can cover 3. I think it's time they finally get the monkey off their back. Yeah, Chiefs defense is good, but Josh Allen is better. And I think that if there's going to be a year that the Chiefs don't get to the championship game, not the Super Bowl, but the AFC championship game, which they missed 6 straight times, this is that year. So give me the Bills -3, and then last pick, give me Ravens, Texans cover. It's Ravens -9, so I would bet on the Texans +9, and yeah, I got the Ravens winning that game straight up. Again, great story for C.J. Stroud, but it's going to come down to the Ravens just have an overall more talented team, top to bottom. Their roster's stacked. Lamar Jackson MVP, Roquan Smith leading that defense with Patrick Queen. I mean, I don't see the Texans beating the Ravens in that game. And yes, if you're counting along at home, I picked every favorite. I didn't pick them all to cover, but yes, every favorite is going to win straight up. It's going to be Bills, Ravens, and Lions, Niners championship Sunday, which would be cinema. But go Pack, go. Jordan Love shocked the world. Fucking prove me wrong. Fade me if you want to make some money. Because, I mean, last week I took Browns. And I also took the Dolphins. So that didn't work out well. So if you want to fade me, maybe you'll make some money. But this is not financial advice. I'm not day trading or Dogecoining. So just to finish off with a fun fact about the Ravens, who are going to have the MVP and are my pick for the Super Bowl. I just thought this was interesting. This is according to Baltimore Banner. The Ravens eat 30 to 60 Uncrustables every day. If you extrapolate that the entire season, apparently that's 7,500 Uncrustables per season. I don't know who's eating all those fucking Uncrustables. I like, that's so many. 30 to 60. There's a 53-man roster. You got maybe 15-10 on the practice squad. It's like every person is eating a Uncrustable. Although it could be the coaching staff. But all this talk about PB&J is making me hungry. So I'm going to finish the podcast on this note of Uncrustables and apparently the Baltimore obsession with peanut butter and jelly. But all of this talk just begs the question, and I'll leave you with this. What's the difference between peanut butter and jam?